A British airline was forced to divert one of its flights to Turkey after the co-pilot died in flight of natural causes.
The Airbus A320 was flying from Manchester to Cyprus. The airline did not give a cause of death.
Well, meanwhile, there was panic in the skies aboard a flight to New York as a woman gasped for air.
Deborah Farrick describes the attempts to save her and the controversy that followed.
Gasping for air, Corinne Desir knew she was in serious trouble.
My darling, please don't let me die. Go ask some oxygen for me, please, baby. I love you, baby. I love you. Don't let me die. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Please, please. And I stopped yelling in the plane. Somebody help me.
Her cousin, Antonio Oliver, tells CNN affiliate WABC he begged an American Airlines flight attendant twice to bring him oxygen.
Please, sir. Bring me some oxygen for her. He said it is impossible.
It's unclear how much time elapsed, but soon after, American Airlines says the captain asked passengers for help. 3 doctors and 4 medical personnel on board tried saving the Brooklyn resident. Her cousin describes it this way.
When they open the oxygen tank, there's nothing in the tank.
Desir's cousin says a second oxygen canister also failed, as did an automatic defibrillator normally used to jumpstart the heart.
Was it working?
How do you know?
Because the doctor said nothing is working in the plane. I can't believe it.
One of the doctors, through a lawyer, says he can't confirm exactly how much oxygen was in the canister. And while an American Airlines spokesman acknowledges they're investigating why the defibrillator did not administer a shock as it should have, the airline says, quote, "We stand behind the actions and training of our crew and the functionality of the onboard medical equipment."
Flight attendants are supposed to respond to the emergency in a timely and efficient way. If a flight attendant does not, the airline may be liable for whatever happens to the passenger.
The passengers performed CPR for 45 minutes as the captain prepared to divert to Miami. But after Miss Desir breathed her last, she was laid out in the first-class aisle, and the captain continued to the flight's destination, New York. There, the medical examiner said Miss Desir died of natural causes due to diabetes and heart disease. The Federal Aviation Administration says it is investigating the entire incident. Deborah Farrick, CNN, New York.
Well, whatever happened, it was plainly a terrifying ordeal, a medical emergency in mid-flight. Dr. John McKnight knows something about feeling helpless when trying to help someone in the air, when someone is the victim of a medical emergency. He joins us now from Los Angeles. I want to talk about your experiences in just a moment, Dr. McKnight, and it's great to have you with us. But first, your reaction to what you heard about the case there of Ms. Desir.
Well, I was very surprised. I awakened this morning 10 years after an experience that I was involved with, which we went to great lengths to try to get legislation and accomplish that passed through Congress. And this was, again, 10 years ago, and now I awakened to see that someone died allegedly from having inadequate equipment on board a flight.
So what happened to you?
Well, around end of December of 1997, I was on a flight from New York to Miami with my family, and a 23-year-old woman on the flight went into cardiac arrest. And for 30 minutes, while the plane was making an emergency landing, me and a EMT, emergency technician who was on board, tried to save this passenger's life, but they had inadequate flight attendant training. They had bare essentials on the flight kit. They had no defibrillator, and as a result, it was all in vain.
So in this latest case, we're hearing that there was a defibrillator, but there are reports that it didn't work properly, that the oxygen didn't work properly. There's been statements from American Airlines saying that oxygen was administered and the defibrillator was applied, but plainly it seems something wasn't working right.
Well, I agree. Again, I wasn't there, but it seems to me that this has caught a lot of media attention, and I don't think it would have necessarily if it was everything that the airline's saying, but obviously there's two sides to this story. One thing that I find is interesting is that one of the doctors already is being represented by an attorney as their spokesperson, which is kind of unusual in this situation, particularly since part of our legislation back in 1998 was the first ever federal Good Samaritan law, which protects doctors that come forward from a lawsuit in this case.
So, with your legislation, how widely is it now applied? Is it only for flights that begin or end in the United States, or domestic flights? And what is required now to be carried on board planes?
Well, initially it was international flights. A lot of the international flights already had expanded medical kits and defibrillators. Those are the critical flights because it's overseas usually, and it's lengthy flights where you can't make an emergency landing. And so those were already fairly well equipped. That's what's even more surprising in this case, is that here a flight from, going overseas was not equipped. But with the legislation, the goal was also to have short flights, domestic flights equipped with expanded medical kits. Oxygen in this case are the bare essentials, but to have expanded medical kits and a working defibrillator that's looked at daily to make certain that this equipment is functional.
Now, Ms. Desir was 44 years old. She plainly had underlying medical conditions. This co-pilot who's died on a British flight on its way to Cyprus, he was 43 years old. Is flying inherently more dangerous than not flying in terms of health conditions? And what cues should you be listening to in terms of your own body to say, don't get on the plane? It may not be the best place to be if something goes bad. Well,
it is, by and large, it's inherently safe. We all do it every day, and most people do fine with the flight. But these are young people. I mean, 43 and 44. That even with medical conditions, that's still an early age to have a problem, and to say that because they have a medical condition that they couldn't be brought back with the right equipment, I think is not accurate. I think that with the proper equipment, these are the people that could easily be saved.
Well, certainly through your experiences, you changed the law, and for the benefit of everyone who flies, as so many of us do, we really do thank you for taking time with us today. Dr. John McKnight joining us from Los Angeles.
My pleasure.